Howdy mates, good morning. Here's a part 2 video. Forgive me that there was a little pause there. I wanted you guys to take it in for a second. So we are still at the Hillsborough River State Park. This is a common favorite, especially in this part of Florida. Now, you see those rapids that I just showed you guys a moment ago? This is one of the only few blackwater streams in the state of Florida that actually has a set of rapids. Now, I'll tell you what, I truly miss seeing rivers that behave like this. You could say that I really miss seeing rapids. Because, you know, growing up in Ohio most of my life, it made me a bit spoiled when it came to river or riparian habitat. Now, when I say riparian, I'm basically referring to river ecosystems. So, you know, that can include the type of trees, the flora, and even the form of wildlife too. So usually in a riparian habitat, there's a lot more what you call niches. Now, niche is defined as a term where an organism fulfills a particular role in an ecosystem that no other organism can perform. So in other words, a niche refers to an organism's role in the ecosystem. So, essentially, with there being Floridan limestone, that's responsible for creating these rapids that you can see right here. Now, just across, you see those white blooms right there? That's your great example of string lily, which was a flower that I pointed out last week. You'll only see those flowers in riparian habitat. They prefer the moist soil that is also organic too. Now, given that, you know, we have ferns and other grasses, and the rock is slowly breaking down, there's plenty of organic soil over there. Now, frankly, when it comes to any aspect of the natural world, it is always riparian ecosystems that always grab my heart the most. I don't know. I think just growing up along rivers most of my life, it just has always had me feel the most at home, no matter where I am. And I believe I can just closely relate to it, to, you know, the behavior of a river. It always forges a path, no matter what type of obstacle is in its way. There's always a will. But anyway, there actually is a lot that's happening in this river that you're not even seeing. You know, for instance, we've got a lot of what you call macroinvertebrates that inhabit these waters. So, some of them can include damselfly larvae, as an example. Now, I'm not as familiar with all of the macroinvertebrates that live in Florida streams. I'm a little more familiar with Ohio's. But anyways, you know, some other examples of macroinvertebrates can include our freshwater clams, our snails, you know, apple snails, for example. And among other organisms too. but they each provide their own niche. So for example, crayfish that you can see in these rivers, particular role that they fulfill is, they have their claws. So they have the capability to break down detritus. Now, detritus is just a fancy term that's used for describing organic matter, whether it's decayed animal remains or even decaying plant material. They have a capability to break it down so that other organisms can either consume it or also help decompose it. So then, freshwater clams, what they typically do is they act like filter feeders. They have that capability of filtering nutrients that are found in our water. Whether it be nitrates and phosphates, for example. And then, of course, the other example are apple snails. They're like our scrapers. They can basically control how much aquatic vegetation there is in the river, because that's primarily what they feed on. They like to feed on the algae and periphyton, so they keep the aquatic vegetation in check. So even though these organisms that I speak of are much smaller than we are, they play an absolutely huge role in the ecology of this stream. So we truly need them more than we know. And it's with all of their duties that helps maintain a healthy watershed, which of course, we're always on top of a watershed. A stream is just a portion of a watershed. Essentially, a stream is just a discharge of it. So, if we were to truly let the planet function the way it needs to, she always finds a balance. And yet, it's so many of us fellow Homo sapiens that tend to alter it so much at such a rapid pace. And that's why people like me have to make that known. So, if you guys haven't been, I would absolutely recommend Hillsborough River State Park. It's a wonderful sight. Alright. Journey on a Journey is onwards. Take care, folks. See ya.